You ever wonder how a simple policy decision made in some county meeting can completely change a person's life? Well, today we're looking at exactly that. We're going to see how one county's choices made a world of difference for its older residents. Let's get into it.
Just take a second to let that sink in. Imagine feeling like you don't belong anymore in the very place you've called home for decades. This quote, it really hits you, right? It's the beginning of our story, and it makes you ask, who is this person, and what could possibly make her feel so invisible?
All right, so let's put a name and a face to that feeling. This all starts with one person's very personal struggle, a struggle that, believe it or not, ended up sparking a huge community-wide change.
So I want you to meet Dorothy Mitchell. She's 76 years old, and she's lived in her home in Milwaukee for 43 years. I mean, think about that. 43 years. She raised her family there, built her entire life there. But lately, she started getting this sinking feeling that the world was just changing around her, and maybe leaving her behind. This isn't just a number on a chart. This is a real person in a real neighborhood dealing with a very real fear.
Okay, so now let's pull the camera back. We're going to zoom out from Dorothy's front porch and look at the bigger picture at the county level. Because while she was starting to feel left out, something important was starting to happen in Milwaukee County. A real, formal commitment to make sure residents just like her weren't just seen, but were actually made a priority.
So the whole strategy revolved around this idea of becoming an age-friendly community. And listen, this isn't just some catchy slogan. It's an official designation from the AARP for places that are making actual, concrete changes. We're talking better buses, better housing, more social spaces, all to improve life for people of all ages. And here's the thing, it's not just about social programs. This stuff has real economic benefits too. It helps older adults stay active and engaged right there in their local economies.
And they moved fast, I mean really fast. In June of 2024, the county passed legislation to seriously expand services for seniors. And by January 2025, boom, they were officially part of that AARP network. This wasn't just a one-and-done deal either. It was the beginning of a serious, long-term investment.
And this wasn't just talk or some resolution they passed. They actually put their money where their mouth was and hired people. We're talking 27 new jobs created specifically to help older adults directly. That is a major investment in hands-on human support.
And look at the kinds of support they added. It was the whole shebang. They brought in counselors to help with those really complicated long-term care decisions. They hired mental health experts to tackle the crushing problem of loneliness. They got benefit specialists who could actually cut through all that healthcare red tape. And on top of all that, they poured $4 million into upgrading senior centers. It's a truly complete approach, you know? It's not just about physical needs, but about social and emotional health, too.
So, okay, we've got the policy, we've got the new hires, but what does any of this actually mean for Dorothy Mitchell back in her neighborhood? Let's connect the dots from a line item in the county budget all the way down to the sidewalk on her street.
And here it is. This is where it all comes together. That partnership with the AARP, for Dorothy, that meant a brand new bus shelter, so she doesn't have to wait in the freezing Milwaukee wind to go get her groceries. Those 27 new staff members, one of them was a specialist who sat right down with her and finally helped her figure out the Medicare maze that had literally brought her to tears. And that funding for senior centers, that paid for the counselor who just listened, someone who made her feel visible again.
You see, these things can look so dry on a spreadsheet, but in the real world, they are the difference between someone aging with dignity and someone aging with fear. It's about independence. It's about security. It's about feeling like you belong.
Now you might be thinking, okay, that's a great story from Milwaukee, but why does this matter to me? Well, what Milwaukee is doing, it's basically a preview of a massive demographic shift that is headed for the entire country. The age wave is real.
And it all kicks off with one really simple, really powerful desire. The AARP in Wisconsin found out that the vast majority of older adults really just want one thing as they get older.
80%. That's 4 out of every 5 people. They want to stay in their own homes, in their own communities. They don't want to be uprooted. That single fact right there is the engine driving this entire age-friendly movement. So with that 80% number in your head, I want you to look at this year, 2034. It might seem like it's a ways off, but demographically speaking, it's right around the corner. And it marks a historic turning point for the U.S.
By the year 2034, for the first time in American history, there will be more people over the age of 65 than there are children under 18. Just let that sink in for a minute. This isn't a maybe, it's a demographic certainty.
The communities that get ready for this, the ones that address everything from healthcare to housing to transportation, those are the ones that are going to thrive.
Which brings us right back where we started, back to one woman on one street in Milwaukee, and what all of this really means for her today.
So, despite all her worries, despite that fear of becoming invisible, Dorothy Mitchell is still there. She's still right where she's always been, in the home she has loved for 43 years. But something has fundamentally changed for her.
Before all this, when she looked around her neighborhood, all she could see was her past. She genuinely wondered if there was still a place for her in its future. But now, because of something as simple as a bus shelter, a helpful specialist, and someone who would listen, she sees her future there. She knows, for sure, that her community has made space for her.
In the end, this story from Milwaukee isn't really just about aging. It's about belonging. It proves that when you have intentional planning and you make a real investment in people, a community can say to every single resident, "You matter here." And that leaves us with one last question to think about. How is your community preparing for its future?